All right, guys, as I said at the end of the last video on this thing, I'm too honored to quit. I'm gonna take my chances and tie into this thing. We're gonna rebuild that injection pump together. Well, at least try. Well, we're gonna at least take it apart. Okay guys, if you watched the end of my last video on this thing, you know we got the head in it, we got the engine in it. If you haven't watched the video, just go back and watch it. I think it's installing an engine in Miller welder. And we got down to the injection pump not working. Now I've done some research on this thing, and I've came to the conclusion that it's within my skill set to disassemble this thing, see what's wrong with it, cross my fingers, put it back together, and hope it works. And I'm gonna take you guys along for the ride. So it's like I said before, I don't want to tie a lot of money up into this thing. So if I can get this thing apart and at least get it running to see if it works. If it works good and there's something wrong with the injection pump, and I know it runs and I know the welder works, well, then we'll spend some money on it. But that's where we're at on it. So first thing we're going to do to pull this thing off is I need to time it. There's a timing mark inside this little cover right here. There's a timing mark on the front of the engine, and I need to make sure it's in the time position so whenever we take it apart, we know how to put it back together, if that makes sense. So let me get all that stuff lined up and then we'll go from there. All right guys, I don't know if you can see, I can't hold everything at once. There is a mark in there. You get that light just right. There's a mark on that. There's a mark on that little rotor. And they are lined up. And then there's a mark way down in there. I'm not even gonna try it. All lines up. Basically means the engine's in time. If I had to guess, it's probably top dead center on number 1. That's just an assumption. But no matter what, I know it's in time. So there's 2 different things here. This is your timing adjustment, your mechanical timing adjustment. There's a line right there I just stamped it in there to line it up. I took these 3 bolts out here, and that takes that plate off so that timing gear will come out. So I did disconnect the wires up here on top. And obviously the fuel lines and everything are already off. So in theory, this thing should, famous last words, come out there. Oh, look at that. By golly, she did. All right, so now we're gonna take this over here. I got the bench all cleaned up. Put this right in here and we'll get set up and start disassembly and hope for the best. I should probably clean that up first. Let me clean that up with some brake cleaner and some parts cleaner first, and then we'll disassemble. All right guys, I'm gonna try to get you where you're right in here with me and hopefully you can see what's going on. I went ahead and pulled this gear off and that front plate. I'll show you when I put it back on. It's basically timed on this notch right here, so it's not that big a deal. First thing we need to do is take this top cover off. We should find the throttle shaft, the metering valve, and the governor linkage in here, and hopefully nothing, whoops, I'm afraid to get that too tight in the vise. Hopefully no surprises jump out at us, so let's take these 3 screws out here and see what we end up with. Okay, I'm gonna put these over here in order the way I take them out. I'll show you what I got here in a minute. So basically, this is your shutdown solenoid. Whenever you energize that, it pulls it back and allows this metering valve down here to move right there. So this, whoops, get back here. This right here is your throttle shaft. So whenever you start an arc and start welding, this thing's not wanting to cooperate. Come on. It turns this and changes that spring pressure, which allows that metering valve to move. And then this right here is the governor. So once it hits a certain RPM, that governor regulates your engine speed. So the first thing we need to do is get this shaft out of here. I think I know how to do that. I'm 100% for sure. So I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a little bitty clip right there. And if I pull that clip off, that should allow that throttle shaft to slide out of there. Trick is I got to pull it out of there without dropping it down the injection pump. So let's try some needle nose. No, these aren't technically needle nose, but they work good because I got things on the end, but there's that clip. And this should allow that to slide out. And there it comes. That's slotted on there, so I need to make sure that goes back in the same way it came out, just like so. Okay, so now that that's out of there, we got to get this governor pivot linkage. We got to get this governor linkage pulled up out of there because we got to get that metering valve pulled up out of there to change that barrel out. To do that, there's two little big bolts right here on the side we're going to take out. I got to raise this back up in the vise. We're going to take out this one and this one. All right, these two little guys here are 11/32, I believe. Whoops. See if we can pull that out of there. Double check and make sure no pieces are going to go flying when I do this. I think we're good. That should come. Should come right up out of there. I think to make things easier, this is kind of welder specific here. I'm going to take that out of there, which should allow the rest of that to come up off there a lot easier first. So I had to take, I don't know if you guys can see down there, lighting's not the best. I had to take this piece here and tighten it down on there so this will slide over enough, because there's a little bitty hole right here and into this shaft this real small little clip comes out of. So now that I've got that out, I think I should be able to thread this out, and that all should come out of there. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on getting the proper adjustments to get that all back together. But there's that little big hole right there, you see it? I had to thread this piece on far enough to get that hole exposed over here. So we got that behind us for now. So we should be able to pull this out of here, hopefully. Got an O-ring right there. Don't want to pull it through. See if I can get it out of there without damaging it. Come here. Come here. Come here. Nice part about recording this, if I'm not for sure how it goes, I can always go back and watch the video, and hopefully I can learn from myself. Come here, you little O-ring. There it is, got it. Save you for later. All right, so that should allow this shaft to pull out, which is a governor shaft. Set it over here. Then that should allow this governor assembly come up out of there. Hopefully. Okay, I'm gonna have to get this out of here, which I think that just pushes out. Pop just like that. Okay. Well, need more hands. And there she comes. How'd you get back in there again? Come here. Seriously? There we go. There's your governor control linkage. That basically rides on those weights down there. And that goes over and controls this metering valve here. So the whole purpose of taking the whole top half of this apart is we need this metering valve out here, right there. Oop, dropped it. It's got a spring below it. It looks pretty important, so we'll keep it on there like so. And there we go. So now we're ready to take the back half apart. All right, guys, hopefully you can see again. The first thing we're going to do is take this cone off here, and behind that cone should be our vane pump, is what we should find. Take that little thing off. It does have an O-ring on it. Put it over here and our parts line up. Find 11/16 wrench. Take that off. I'm going to put a mark on this just as a reference so I'll know. Just so I'll have something to go off of later before I take it apart. More marks, the better off. That's not 11/16. Let's try 3/4. There we go. So this thing is supposed to have a screen inside it, and I actually took it out earlier to check and make sure it wasn't corroded. So I'll put that back in there now. Now this pump has got CC and C, so it's counterclockwise and clockwise. And again, you need to make sure you know which way it's going to go in there. I'm going to maybe put a little bit of red paint on the C. I'll put a mark over here so I'll know. And I also have video evidence. Pull that off. It's got an alignment pin right there. And this should come off. These are spring loaded, so they may kind of snap. Yep, see, there they go. Got that. And I think, yeah, that lines up over there. That'll have to be lined back up when we come back. I think that'll stay right there where it's at. So this don't have a mechanical timing advance on, I'm assuming, because it's a stationary engine, so, or not a constant RPM engine. So we're going to pull these plugs off the bottom because I think they go up into that barrel to hold it. And then we got to pull these two off right here. All right, guys, let me show you here. This wasn't all sunshine and roses, so I don't want you to think it was. But this was slid up in here. I put this in a vise. I just very gently just kept working that out of there like so. I finally got it to where it would come and put it up this way. And it comes out like so. And then there's all your flyweights. That's your governor and everything you got right there. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the problem is yet, but I found something going on because that hole right there is completely full of metal. I don't know if you can see it. So let me get resituated here and we'll start tearing in and taking this apart. All right, guys, at this point in the project, the kids ended up joining me in the shop, and the conversation quickly turned away from this injection pump and to other things, so I'm going to voice this part over. But these are your flyweight governors. There's basically a washer down in there, and then you got that little collar or sleeve I took out of there. There's the washer. Pretty self-explanatory, elementary stuff there. You can kind of see the notch that sits in there. And then from there, to kind of take time to show you what they look like. And then from there, we got this snap ring down there, and that'll bring that weight cage or basket up off there. And you can see at this point, this thing's had some moisture in it. Now, quick disclaimer, guys. I am not an expert on these pumps. I do not know a whole lot about it. All I know, and I've said it several times, is this thing, I just don't want to put a whole lot of money into it to see if it works. So I'm doing what I can just to see if it runs, to see if it's even worth investing more money into. Because obviously it's not worth investing any more money into if it's got more major problems like the welder don't work or water and oil or just random stuff. So I'm just trying to get by to get this injection pump working to see if this thing will run at all. If you guys go over to Western Truck and Tractor Repair, I believe it is, he's got some really in-depth, actually good videos on this and truly knows what he's doing. He's not quite flying by the seat of my pants like I am here. But I can get you through the basics of this and kind of show you what goes on. I got a good mechanical understanding of how this injection pump works. Now what I'm parking out here is that's got an arrow on it. And basically the way this cam's on there is either means this thing's clockwise or counterclockwise. And what you have here, these are your actual rollers that roll on that cam, and they're your operating assembly that actually pumps the fuel, which this is where we actually find our problem, and this is where I suspected our problem to be, is this pump had set for a while and it's got moisture in it, and these plungers are stuck down here in these bores, and I will show you that here in just a second. Okay guys, so here's them little plungers that are stuck down there as bore. There's two of them, and what happens is the fuel pressure pushes them apart, and then it gets fuel between them, and then whenever the cam runs around it and it squeezes them together, and then it injects fuel, high pressure fuel down whichever gallery's lined up, and that goes to whichever cylinder's lined up. So basically, I didn't have a brass, I wish I had a brass hammer, but I didn't. I ended up taking a little 1/4-inch socket extension because it was rounded on the edge, didn't have any sharp points on it, and very, very, very gently just started kind of working these things back and forth until I got them freed up. And basically what had happened is this thing got moisture down in it from the humidity this summer, or who knows what. All the ports were capped on it, but it got moisture in it. Got a little bit of rust on these things, just enough to kind of seize them up. So we kind of just kept working them back and forth, and was eventually able to get them freed up. And I think I got a little bit of video of this here after I got them freed up. You know, they're kind of, here we go. See how they're just kind of sliding back and forth real easy now? Keep in mind we had to tap those loose, but that is the issue of why we could not get fuel to come through this pump. So now that we found our problem, the next challenge is getting all these little bitty pieces back in there, get it reassembled. And there I kind of show you how it works, how it runs apart, and that's a fuel will line up with that. And there's a lot of other videos on YouTube that explain this a little bit better. This is kind of just a generic assembly and disassembly part. And but yeah, we found the problem. Let's get this booger reassembled. Alrighty guys, there's all the pieces and parts we got out of there. What ended up being the problem is these are the plungers that actually pump the fuel. And basically what shoves these things apart is fuel pressure from that Vane pump, and they were stuck in this bore right here. I still need to clean them up a little bit and get them to work, but at least they are getting to where they're moving. But I'm gonna get all this stuff cleaned up, and then we're gonna hopefully put it all back together. I downloaded all my videos that I shot earlier on the iPad, so I got some good references. I got made my own service manual. Yes, dear.
I want to show you something.
All right. I marked these when I took them out, so I knew where they go, but you can also tell by the wear pattern from that cam. But as I slide them back in here, remember I had to drive these out with a hammer, and they slide super easy now. Look at that. All that work to get that little thing loosened up. Put the one back in on the other side. I am going to put, see they go like that. I'm going to put a little bit of penetrating oil on that just to hedge my bet they don't seize back up on me for some goofy reason. Make sure they slide good. Oh yeah, that should do the trick. So basically, centrifugal force and fuel pressure throws them out, and then whenever we put this cam on later, you'll see it. That's what shoves them back in and injects fuel. So next thing on the list we need to do is we need to put these cams and rollers back in, like so. Whoops. Yep. Okay, I was just double checking there. If you can see, these things are slotted like that, but they'll only go down in there one way. So, not saying you can't get it in there wrong, but it'd be a tough one. I'm gonna double check. There's our arrow. Remember we had that on top. So one way this is clockwise. I don't see the C on it. The other way it's counterclockwise. But we took it out with the arrow up. We'll get our ring back on here. So whenever fuel pressure is going to drive these out, and then whenever it comes around to where it's narrow, it's going to shove it in, and that's what the fuel's between those two plungers. That's what injects the fuel. So that'll go on there like so. I'm going to clean this up because it's pretty nasty, and that'll go back down in there. I'm gonna double check the video. I don't think it matters which way that goes, but better safe than sorry, right? All right, guys, I honestly don't know if that little notch matters at all, but I got it in the exact position as what it was whenever I took it apart, which is like that. I'm gonna put it back in over there. Better safe than sorry, I guess. Sometimes paying attention to details is what saves your butt in the long run. Man, I bought these snap ring pliers cheap. There's a reason why they're cheap. They are junk. I'm getting off subject here, but hold on, give me a different pair of pliers. There we go. All right, so next we've got to get these flyweights back in there, and the way they go in is they hook in that washer like that. So I'll put one in there. I think it's gonna make sense to come over, put one in there, We'll work our way on around. One at a time. Whoop, get back over there. I'm sure the last one's going to be the fun one to get in. So far, not too bad. Then this goes in there. This goes up. That's what that governor thing rides on, and this goes down towards the washer. So now I got to work it down in there somehow. Hey, that went pretty easy. Sweet. All right. So I'm gonna brake clean that off and air check it a few times, and I think we're ready to slide that housing back on there. All right, guys, I think I'm taking a little bit of a chance here. This can be 180 out. See that's slotted? Look back at some video. I think I know what position it was in there, but I took it apart. But ironically, that's one thing I did not mark. And you guys are wondering what those little metal shavings were from. Well, they're actually from the housing right here. I guess whenever I pulled it out, it scraped out aluminum. This is aluminum, so I'm not too worried about that as well. But I'm gonna gently slide this back down over the top of here and make sure this O-ring goes back in, hopefully without giving me too much of a fit. Famous last words, right? Need a little plastic mallet or something. Going, we're just going to be gentle with her. Whoop, easy, that wasn't gentle. A little worried about this O-ring right here. I wish I had a new one. I think it's going in there. Like I said, we're just trying to see if she runs. There you go, I think she's gonna go. I just didn't screw up on my flyweights. Nope, they're still in there. Oop. By golly, I think we got her. You know, the more I think about this, I may have been wrong. I don't think it matters which way this is, because we ain't timing the gear. We're timing the cam right here. So as long as those marks line up, I think we'll be good. Find that mark. Well, there it is right there. So, now that that's back in, I'm gonna get all the holes lined up so we can get it back together and hope she's right. All right, guys, I got her slid back in there. I'm gonna put these alignment bolts in the bottom here first. That should keep everything in line so everything else comes together. Put just a little bit of penetrating oil, try to get as much life out of that O-ring as I can. Snug that down. And this one here holds that other one in place. Clean him off a little bit. Nope, working on an injection pump. What are you yahoos doing?
No, a video just popped up on Mama's thing that you played.
You need to tell Mommy she's a couple days behind.
What?
You go tell Mommy she's a couple days behind.
You put that all back together.
Well, slowly but surely. One piece at a time, yahoos.
You went up there and did a new one.
No, I didn't. I've been down here working. Ask the people on YouTube's.
You went up there to find something.
Nope. You think this thing just put itself together while I was up
You
there?
found an SD card. You had to find an SD card and you went upstairs.
Yeah, I found a different SD card, but I didn't put a video up.
Are you going to try to edit that one that you just took a video of me done?
I'm still working on it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, now you do. Yay. Hey, be nice. All right, guys, I could be completely wrong, but I got this spring back in here. And what I think this thing does, and I think it's welder specific, is that's off. And that would be wide open throttle. So I basically think what this thing does is it holds it off idle, so whenever it starts, you don't have a hand throttle on the welder. You just got electric throttle. So basically I think it holds it off idle, so it's about half to 3/4 throttle. And as soon as it hits and takes off running, the governor pulls it back and idles it down, is the way that works. It's the best I can come up with from what I can see, because that's the off position, that's wide open throttle, and from what I can tell, it's adjusted to hold it about half throttle. Then as soon as it takes off running, then weights are gonna come out and it's gonna kick it back to idle. Then whenever you start welding, it'll turn on the throttle shaft and pull it back. That's my redneck assessment of what's going on there. So next thing we gotta do is get the throttle shaft back in. And that's a pretty easy adjustment. I can adjust that pretty easy after I get it in. So we'll go put a little bit of penetrating oil on that. Just a little worried about these old O-rings. I think I can get a rebuild kit for this thing for like $27. And if it ends up working, that's what I may end up doing. So then that goes. Make sure I get that right. All right, guys, I'm going to take back my previous statement after studying this a little more. This is your spring that basically holds it wide open until your engine takes off and shows RPM. This here is 100% throttle adjustment to get set to the proper RPM, which we're going to have to figure out at some point to make sure we got the proper RPM. But I think for now, at least got her working. All right, guys, I finally got the top of this thing back together. It's so hard to show what's going on, but there's a little bit of hooks on the bottom of this thing that hooks that little plate on the back of that screen. That increases spring pressure on this, which gives you more resistance on the governor, which should give you more RPM, hopefully. I think we're pretty much good in here. I'm gonna throw the top back on that. I got all my, I'm not 100% convinced that's all adjusted properly, but I am convinced that I've got my adjustments very conservatively, so nothing's gonna go crazy if it starts. So we gotta put the shutdown solenoid and the top back on, get the back built, and see if it works, I guess. All right, guys, top's all together. So now we're going to try to get this back together Get everything lined back up the way it's supposed to be. Dowel pin goes right down that slot there. So, dowel pin goes over there. Get these little boogers back in. We got our dowel pin, all of our marks we got to line up over there, like so. We got our screen back in there. I guess I can put that on there like that. And this goes on there like that. I got my marker right there I made earlier. And this little jiggy here, it holds it all together. Well, guys, that's it. It's back together. I guess the $1 million question is, we'll put her back on the engine and see if she pumps fuel. Sure hope she does. Alrighty, I guess the next step is to put this puppy back on and see what happens. I got our timing marks lined up there, so we'll see if we can slide her back in. Come on. She's in there. Let me make sure all of our timing marks are still lined up. Looks pretty good. Let me bolt her down and see what we got. All right, guys, it's about time for the moment of truth. I've got everything on, got the timing cover back on. I'm not going to put the injection lines on. We're going to spin her over and see if she'll spit fuel out of there. If she don't spit fuel out of there, there's no point in putting those back on. So I guess let's hit the switch and see what happens. Hot diggity dog, did you guys see that? I think we might be getting somewhere, folks. Well, now that we got fuel down there, I'm going to put these injector lines back on. We'll leave them loose up here on top, get fuel up there, and then see if she'll make smoke, I guess. All right, guys, I feel like we're back where we started at like 2 weeks ago, but I got all the injector lines on, so now what I'm gonna do, I got these loose up here. I'm gonna crank them over until we start getting fuel up here, hopefully. All right, now we'll tighten them all down. All right, guys, it is showtime. It is the moment of truth. Let's hope I got everything somewhat back in adjustment in right order. I do got a fire extinguisher handy. I got me a board over there in case stuff gets too far out of control. There's only one way to find out what's gonna happen. Let's do it. All right, guys, there she is all together. Well, she's all together with all the parts I have. Wade says he's got the side panels for it somewhere. We got to go search those out. We've actually been using this thing for the last 3 days. Probably put about 10 hours on it, welding on the exhaust stacks. We did some welding on the trunnion of the thing. Did some aluminum weld with it. Guys, this thing worked awesome. It ran good. It welded even better. So phase 1 of welder repair, mission accomplished. It runs and it works. So that's exciting. I got some stuff I still want to do to it. I got to get a fill cap we're missing right there. The starter don't want to engage every time, and the solenoid here is shorted out, and I got a small water leak up there on the water pump. But now that I know it runs, now that I know it welds, I'm not against investing a little bit of money into it and making me a dang good welder. I think it's going to serve the purpose I want it to, so I'm excited. I can't believe our injection pump fix actually worked, but it did. So anyways, we're going to wrap this one up for now. If I start tinkering on this thing some more, I'll keep you guys in the loop. Hope you enjoyed the 2 videos on putting the welder together, and to keep your fingers crossed my injection pump holds. And guys, as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.